I lost so many years of costuming being a hippie.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of LARP and Cosplay. Today we're going to be talking to Kell, also known as Kelldar. She's a bit of a magician when it comes to the stitching end of cosplay, something I'm not very familiar with, and something hopefully we'll get a chance to learn a little bit about. Alright, so Kell, you're incredibly good at this, really a professional cosplayer. How long have you been doing this for?
Almost 20 years. My first anime convention that I went to was in 2001, and before that I made costumes for Halloween. And going back even further than that, back in the late 80s, my parents took me to Mid-South Con for several years. And that's really where I got my first taste of it. But 1998 is when I consider my first costume that I myself made, so about 20 years.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, how many costumes have you made in total? Do you have any idea?
For myself, it's right around, I think I just passed 200 recently.
Wow.
If I count things that I made for other people or friends, I have no idea.
So you've gone long enough that you're syndicated at this point.
Yes.
That's kind of fantastic. Well, you mentioned that, you know, the first one that you made for yourself. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that was what made it cosplay, or I guess, what is it really that defines the difference between just like making a costume and something being cosplay for you?
You know, I really think that it's your intent more than anything. It's, even if you buy something, you know, it's, I want to be this character, I want to experience, you know, living as this character, and, you know, once you get that costume on and you feel that change come over you, that's cosplay to me. And that first year was the first time I really put something together and really felt that feeling like, oh, I'm somebody else, you know, for the first time ever. Do
you feel like there's a stigma or kind of a difference between, you know, someone who's bought a costume or made a costume? There
can be. I think there are people out there who, you know, are a little stuck up about it. But for me, it's, you know, if you don't have the time or the money or the space to make a costume, there's absolutely nothing wrong with buying it. Because if you really enjoy it, then you're going to keep going. You're going to buy more costumes. You're eventually going to have to make a costume because you can't buy it. You can't find everything that you can just buy. So buying a costume, I think, is a great starting point for somebody just getting into it.
Kind of a fun way to sort of get your feet wet without having to have, you know, invest
without killing yourself.
Right,
yes.
Right. How long do you typically spend on something? Is there a typical amount of time you spend putting something together?
No, I mean, everything is completely different. When I was younger, I would often have to pull, you know, all-nighters the night before the convention trying to finish something. As I've gotten older, I've gotten better about that. The last few Dragon Cons, I've actually had the day before Dragon Con where I have nothing to do except pack. It's amazing. Time management, as you get to understand your skills and you figure out how long it will take to make something.
Definitely. So that's kind of maybe the good reason to buy necessarily if you don't have that time,
exactly.
Or if you come upon this inspiration right before you've got an event you want to attend.
And what's horrible is when you come upon an inspiration a week before the con, and sometimes you can't say no to it. Sometimes you're still going to pull an all-nighter just to finish that one inspirational costume.
I know you mentioned you've been doing this for, you said almost 20 years now. Mm-hmm. What was it that really originally got you started? Was it something that you saw or someone else that introduced you to it?
You know, going way, way, way back, my parents every Halloween would make these elaborate costumes, and I always got kicked out of the house Halloween night while they had their Halloween party, and I was very jealous. And I think that really hung with me for many years, was just seeing them in these amazing costumes. And then when I was in college, I really got into it started with Final Fantasy VII, and then from there I got into anime, and I started seeing my friends on these online forums making costumes and going to conventions, and I was like, oh, that used to be so much fun when I did that with my parents. I want to do that again. So that's kind of how I got sucked back into it.
Definitely. So it was something that you almost kind of were familiar with it from the start, and just took kind of that one moment to kind of pull you back into it, sort of thing.
Because when I was a teenager, I really did the lazy teenager thing and wore the same costume every Halloween. I was a hippie for like 4 Halloween straight, and I regret that now because I lost so many years of costuming being a hippie.
If you've got somebody who's starting off new, did you have any resources that you originally went to, or?
Oh, a lot of those resources are gone now. Right now, there's a really great app called Cosplay Amino, and it is a really great community. There's a lot of young cosplayers on there posting tutorials, posting wig links, armor building, all kinds of stuff. It is a fantastic community, and it's really growing. And I swear I'm not part of it. I sound like I'm plugging it, but it's really the closest thing I've seen in years to a dedicated cosplay community like we used to have. Outside of that, Facebook, there are tons of Facebook groups dedicated to just building one costume. Like there's an entire Peggy Carter cosplay group where everybody talks about their resources and
where they pull patterns from.
Yes, yeah.
That sort of thing.
And then, you can go to Art of Wigs, who has an entire tutorial section. And DeviantArt has a ton of tutorials as well. All of those are great places to get started.
Well, could we go ahead and take maybe a little tour around your workshop and have a look at some of the creations you've got?
Of course, I'd love to.
Excellent.